Hey everybody, it's Christina of CraftyPaws. I've made this fun shaped card out of a bunch of diamond dies as well as some of the stamps and papers from the Scrapping for Less May card kit. I had so much fun designing this for a friend of mine who's a vegetarian like I am, and her family recently opened a farm-to-table restaurant that has a big vegetarian menu. So I thought it would be fun to make this card especially for them. First of all, I'm making this card structure, this t-shirt with an apron on top using the DiemondDies Baby Onesie Mini Album die. And I cut one of them out from the Wild Cherry cardstock from the Scrapping for Less kit. And then I'm cutting another one, but first I'm going to fold the top about half an inch, and then I'm going to run the die through the die cutting machine, but with the top over top of that fold. So you can see that the cutting edge is off of the edge of the paper. And I'm going to secure it in place with some washi tape. Unfortunately, this washi tape is a little too strong and it kind of tore the paper, but I'm able to cover that up so it's not that big a deal. But I'm going to run this through, again, my die cutting machine. It's a little bit thick there where the cardstock is folded, but when you see what happens when you take the die cut piece off the paper, you see a flap is created, and that, along with the first one that I cut out, will create the structure of the card. Now, to make the liner piece, I'm using the red die cut onesie as a template to go just inside another onesie that I cut out of white cardstock. This is actually the whipped cream cardstock from the Scrapping for Less kit. So I'm just going to hand cut this out so that it's about, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch, maybe 1/8 of an inch smaller than the red onesie that I first cut out. And this will be the liner sheet for the inside of the card. And I first traced it all out with pencil, and any remaining marks off camera I just erased with a clean eraser. Now I'm using the DiemondDies Candy Corn Mini Album die just to get a nice curve at the bottom. And this is because it's not going to be a onesie, it's going to be a t-shirt. And I already cut the red one, and that's the placement of that candy corn die. And I just cut the bottom off of this onesie so that it becomes like the inside liner of this card. So I'm just going to now next cut a little sliver off of that inside piece, and that's just so that when I put the two red pieces together, it has a little bit of room at the top so that the rest of the t-shirt lines up nicely. Just with that little sliver cut off, it really helps line everything up better. It gives that just the folded area, the scored and folded area, a better place to come over the top of the t-shirt on the bottom, which is the back side of the card. And now I'm going to glue that flap over the back so that it forms the structure of that shaped card. Isn't that cute? Now for the apron. I'm cutting one more sheet out, and you can see the placement of the top cutting plate. I'm not taking it all the way to the bottom because I'm going to extend this top piece so that it's a longer apron. And on this white cardstock, I printed off on my computer friends, and then in parentheses, not food. And this ran through my printer pretty well. And as you can see here, I'm now going to just extend the bottom lines of, or the side lines of this onesie straight down using a ruler and a pencil. And now I'm going to cut the edges off. So that extends that onesie so that it's like a long apron front. And it's relatively simple, and I think it looks really cohesive. Now I'm going to just cut it, the base of it, like I did the t-shirts, with the bottom of that candy corn die, that mini album candy corn die, and that creates the nice kind of arch at the bottom. Now I'm using the medium or the smaller candy corn, but it's part of the candy set die set from DiemondDies, and it's the larger of the two small candy corns. And I use that to cut the arms off of that white apron so that it creates the armholes. And I'm just using the sides of those candy corns to get a nice little kind of swoop. Now I'm using the DiemondDies flower pots nesting die set, and I use, I think it's like the second smallest, to create a bigger neck opening for that apron. So it's no longer going to have a curved collar, it's going to have that square collar. And now I'm going to add glue to the card front of the red t-shirt and glue to the top of that apron so that I can glue that apron on top of that little t-shirt to form the remainder of that card base. Isn't that cute? Now I'm using some adorable stamps from the Scrapping for Less May card kit. The little chicks that I stamped out are from the Avery L Barnyard, as is the little lamb. And that little pig is from the Scrapping for Less Piggy Picnic stamp set. And I'm doing some relatively simple Copic coloring. Even though these little chicks are pretty small, I wanted to give them a little color variation, lighter bellies, darker beaks and feet, and just a little bit of shading so they look a little more rounded. For the sheep, I'm doing the curly kind of woolly look for the wool. So I'm using a W0 and a W3 just to get a little color variation. And I like how the curves of the wooliness give it a kind of a visual texture with some quickie kind of curly Q coloring. I'm going back in now and blending it back with the W0 just to soften the W3. And then for the legs, the ears, and the face, I'm using a rosy color, an R3, and then a pale kind of skin tone, an E01. And for the feet, I'm using C6, and then an R30, I believe, for the cheeks. Now for the little piggy, I want the whole pig to look pink, but I wanted, again, some color variation. So I'm starting with an R11 at the base, a little bit of shading. And if you're interested in the particular Copic colors I used, I put the caps on the left, but I also list everything on my blog post, which I will link to in the description box below, but all relatively simple Copic coloring because these images are so small. I just want to make sure I get a little bit of color variation, a little bit of shading, but otherwise it's really relatively simple. I give the cheeks a little bit darker as well as the mouth. Now for all of the critters, I'm going to use this Tuxedo Memento Black pen or marker just to ink the edges of all of my fussy cut critters. I fussy cut all of them off camera so that I could save a little time. And I just ink the edges to give them a finished look and you don't see the white of that cardstock. And I'm placing this little chickie on top of the D and S of Friends because I had torn that apron a little bit when I was removing the washi tape after I had run it through the die cutting machine. And it covered up the little torn area perfectly. Now I've popped on all of these critters up on double-sided foam adhesive, and I'm going to place them just like that. This last little finishing touch is just using my bone folder with a ruler just so that the hand cut area looks like a die cut area. It gives a really clean finished look. Off camera, I also stamped out and colored up the little cow from the Avery L Barnyard set. I just wanted to embellish the inside liner sheet as well so it would coordinate with the front of the card. And that's my completed shaped card. I hope you've enjoyed this process video. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you're interested in any of the dies that I use, please check out DiemondDies. And if you're interested in the papers or the stamps that I use, please check out Scrapping for Less. I'll put links in the description box below to both shops. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.